This is DBS Playing on the Budget, Episode 9, Generic Ultimates. So for those who like to play Ultimates, they're good cards, but you only have one, so they tend to be hard to get to the hand to play them and use them. But when you do get them into your hand, they have a lot of power. And if you get to play them and use them, you get a lot of value out of them. So for those who want to play Ultimates, want to have at least the option to, but don't have a big budget, right? Have a lot of money to spend. These are some, cheap cards. So it's a combination of both cheap, but also, cheap like under 200 or under $300 for the cards. But also just the idea that, budgeting is not just being cheap, right? Not just paying less for stuff. It's about choosing when to pay for stuff. Like what's more important, right? Paying your bills or playing a card game, for example, right? That kind of stuff. The idea of budgeting is figuring out where your money is going to go to less of spending less. It's not about spending less, it's about where you put your money. So you want to get the most value for, money. So that's the whole idea of budgeting. Not, some people look at budget as just being cheap, pay less. And it's like, well, that's not what budgeting really is. It's about managing where your money is going. So just for those who might be confused of what budget means. Typically, it does lean towards paying less, because you might have less to use. So try to get the most with the least you have. But if you have more, then it's just a matter of where to put it to get the most value when you do have more. So for example, we have here a show that you have this Ultimate that has two versions of it. The original version for BT10 from set 10, but it also has a revision version where the effect was errated. I think there was just needed a correction or something. And there's a cheaper version, which I did get. I got the cheaper version. So this is one of the Ultimates I have. I have like three or four Ultimates so far. Because they're cheap. So why not, right? That's part of it. They were cheap, but they're also pretty good. So we got this one. This has 3 Go Tanks, Blazing Fusion. It's 40k with double strike. It has the first permanent, which is reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each battle card with 15k power in your drop area. So that wouldn't be that hard, since you combo and stuff like that, and battle cards get KO'd or whatever. It's not gonna be that hard to get, a good amount of 15ks in your drop. Plus, you should be playing things at 15k or more anyway. But so you can, if you have 4 15ks in your drop, then this just costs 4 yellow to play. So it's a good, generic card you could put in any yellow deck. Not just Cell Zeno. That's a good option, of course. It's a good card. But this is a good card too. The second permanent it has is negate the skills of all other battle cards. So that's a really powerful ability. That's something that Cell Zeno doesn't have. Most other Ultimates don't have that ability, the ability to negate the skills of all other battle cards. And this can make a big difference, because negating skills, that means you negate blockers, right? Blockers is a skill. So you're negating blockers, so you don't have to worry. So this is good against a Bulma deck, and the list goes on, right? Of the usefulness of this. Negating skills, that means it negates double strike, quadruple strike, stuff like that. So you're making it where your opponent's going to deal a lot less damage if you have this in play. So it has a built-in floodgate, so it's, it has value in itself. It is a Earthling and a Saiyan, so there's potential if there's a leader that helps you like search the top cards of your deck for a Saiyan or Earthling card, then this is searchable, and let's go on. Always take that to consideration. I always think about that, like um, the special traits of the ultimates, if they're sane, Earthling, or something like that, or they're a Broly, Vegeta, Goku, that kind of stuff. I look for those types of aspects of the ultimate, because of the fact that there are some cards that can search out these cards. If, for example, there's a blue Goku ultimate, then that means the one drop Goku Kind Sane or whatever, and that's that one Goku can let you look at the top 7 cards here that can add a blue Goku, Son Goku from that to your hand. Then you have a way to search out your ultimate, which is you only have one copy of, right? So stuff like that. And I like to also do the same thing for Raditz SS3 Scramble, because it's Raditz, Vegeta, and Broly. There's a 1-drop set 1, set 1 drop Broly that can search out this card, because this card is a Broly, a Vegeta, and a Raditz. So there's a leader that can grab a Raditz. There's a leader that can grab a Vegeta, if I'm right. And in the future, there could be a leader that grabs a Broly, by looking at the top cards of your deck. So it greatly increases the chances of you getting this card just by activating your effects. So being able to search them out makes them more useful, because spending a lot of money for a card you barely see when you're playing kind of sucks. It's just there as an expensive filler in your deck, right? It just gets you up there to 50 cards. That's all it does, right? Maybe push you to 51 cards. But that'd be sad to spend that much money and barely get to use it. So that's why it's important to look at those details. But that's just a little pro tip. Moving on. So this also has an auto. When this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, like Charismatic Frieza or some type of active battle ability that KOs this, because this has no protection, so it can be dealt with. Then it triggers its ability to choose all your opponent's battle cards and energy in rest mode, and then ignoring barrier and place them into its own dropper. I'm curious what the errata looks like. As in, they have a different effect. I don't think they added the errata effect. I think it says the same thing. So it's supposed to be errata. Anyway, I'm not gonna waste time to look into that. Alright, so moving on. SS3 Scramble, Raditz, Vegeta, and Broly, right? Again, I mentioned the idea of being able to search it, cheating them out. That's another thing you look for. For making the decision. Because this is part of the video, is the idea of making a decision on what ultimate you should get to hold on to for a longer time. Because if you can, let's say you can only afford one ultimate, well, which one should you go? So I'm showing you some options, some of my faves, as well as they're cheap, they're good, obviously, and you can make use of them. That's why I'm mentioning the little details like SS3 Scramble, for example, the fact that it's a Raditz, a Vegeta, and a Broly. There are some leaders and cards that can help you search it out, so you have a higher chance of actually using it. So that way it's not a waste of your money, right? This obviously has red-green arrival. You need 3 red, 2 green in order to play it. First auto, when you play this card, choose one card in your life, place it into the drop area, then deal 2 damage to your opponent. So right there, obviously this can be a win con. I have this card. I spent I paid $130 for my copy. Now to see this $81, played, I should have waited. But when you get the money, you get the money, right? Again, it was a good card. Still is. Definitely one of my faves, because I like the Super Saiyan 3 forms. I'm a fan of the Raditz character, so seeing him as a Super Saiyan 3 is awesome. So definitely a fan of this card. And then of course it deals 2 damage. So you play it, you deal 2 damage. And the fact you could play for 5 That's another important detail of an ultimate is how soon you can play it. You know, you want to play it as soon as turn 4 to turn 5, right? Turn 5 at the latest, as they say. 6, debatable. You gotta play the right deck for 6. But you want to play as soon as turn 4, which is the best. Sooner the better, obviously. Like freaking Hatchiac and stuff like that. They could be played turn 3 and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, 4 or 5, it's reasonable, especially if it's an ultimate. Paying 5 or 4 is reasonable. And second auto, when your opponent combos with a battle card with an energy cost of 2 or less, basically super combo or less, right? Choose up to 1 card in your opponent's combo area and place it into owner's drop area, and that's not a once per turn effect. So pretty much they have to use battle cards that are 3 costs or higher if they want to try to outcombo this card's attack. This is a 40k, it has no double strike, so it's just a single strike. But you know, the fact that when you play you deal 2 damage, that already puts your opponent in a position where if you attack, they either already lost because you should have played it to win, right? You know, because the first 4 damage is the easiest, the next 2 requires a little effort, and the last 2 is the hardest. But with this card, it should be easy to take the last 2 for 5 energy. But with that being said, you know, if your opponent still manages to have 1 life left, then, you know, go for game. And this card's ability will make it hard for them to out-combo it, which is the whole point, right? Makes it a UA attacker, plus it's a burn. So it's definitely one of my favorites. That's why I don't really have a problem that I paid 130 for the card. Because it was worth it. It is an amazing card. I've had some fun with it. Won a lot with it. Especially my Bulma deck. So, really good card. I've even played in Raditz because, like I said, Raditz can search it. Raditz later. Really good card. So, should be able to do 3 damage with it. 2 is all you really needed to win, obviously. But on. You notice that the price of the cards are going higher because I actually put them in number order. So, we're going higher in cost. Black Smoke Dragon, you know, Eternal Evil. The black card is generic. If you have 12 or more cards in your drop area, reduce the cost of this card by 5, so it costs 5 to play if you meet the condition. So that is, you know, something to take into account. And then it has a very powerful active main. Once per turn, choose one of these abilities. Choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and set them to the warp. So it's a board wipe. So that's always good to have, whether you're a good player or bad player, it doesn't matter. That effect is good, right? That effect will definitely make a difference. You can always turn the game around with that ability. Then yeah, the other effect second effect you could choose, send the top 7 cards of your opponent's deck to their warp and draw 2 cards. So you could potentially deck your opponent out, plus you draw 2 cards. So there's some card drawing value out of that. And then the third ability, choose 4 cards from your opponent's hand and set them to the warp. That can greatly increase your chances of going for game, especially if your leader's like if you use your leader as a finisher or something, or you have a unison field that you use as a finisher. Playing this to take 4 cards out of your opponent's hand to greatly increase your chances of your attack getting through. Really, really awesome. And this is definitely, especially for less than $100, definitely a really good ultimate to get if you can always guarantee the 12 cards in your drop, which shouldn't be too hard if you're comboing, drawing, combo, draw, combo, right? You should be able to get 12 cards in your drop so you can play this for 5, get the most value out of it. But you don't want to pay 10, it's too much. 5 is the sweet spot. So I see a lot of people do play this card for under $100. You know, I'm slide that over. We have this one. Slide it over. Okay. All right. I'm gonna slide it all the way here because I probably will buy it. It is under $100. So it is definitely budget friendly. Ironically, I just spent $100 on Magic. Well, actually more than $100 on MTG Arena. So we got money to burn, as they say. So we got the Cichron, Corrupted by the Darkness. Another really good card. You can play it out for as cheap as 1 energy, which is really nice. And it's under $115, so it's still budget friendly, as it were, right? The Cichron, Corrupted by the Darkness. It is 40k blocker, so it's nice that it's a blocker ultimate, right? The first permanent of this card is also treated as black in all areas, so that has some use. Second permanent of this card will be removed from the battle area, remove it from the game instead, of course. Auto, pay 1. At the end of a battle in which this card is used in a combo from your hand, of course you're paying 1 energy to combo with it for 10k combo power. Play this card from your drop area. If you do, choose any number of your opponent's leader cards, battle cards, and unison cards equal to or less than their current energy. Ignore barrier and switch them to rest mode. So it's a good way of, like, let's say your opponent attacks with their leader, you combo with this, pay 1 extra, right? So you pay 2 energy, and then bang, rest your opponent's cards, like their unisons and their battle cards. So that way you can survive the turn. So that's always a good ability. This doesn't require like a yellow leader and stuff like that. So this is definitely a good generic ultimate to use. You notice it says play. Not you play it in rest mode, which would have sucked if that was the case. You play it. It is a 40k blocker, so not only do you get the ability to tap down a lot of your opponent's attackers and unisons, you also get a 40k blocker in case they manage to like overwhelm afterwards. Try to go for game. You at least have a block. You still have him to block, right? Which is awesome. And then he has the active main pay 4 of any color. This card gains double strike and dual attack for the turn. So it could potentially do 4 damage for 4 energy on your following turn. So this is something you definitely want to play on your opponent's turn for 1 energy, and save yourself, and then play it. I'm definitely a fan. I'm a fan of Shenron himself, Omega Shenron. So this is definitely a good card. Definitely will be looking into. Probably get me one of these. Because it's a decent card. Because what adds to it is the fact that you use it defensively. So I like anything that's defensive, like maybe Hatchiac or something. Anything that can defend me, anything that can help me get an extra turn is always, a must-have. Basically, it's the time warp syndrome, right? Always want cards to give me extra turns, right? Extra turns, extra chances of winning, right? So this will give me an extra turn, and then the potential of going for game. The fact that it could potentially do 4 damage is awesome. It's a blocker, like I said, it's really awesome. So, and it's not that hard to get it out. You just combo it. Just think about, like, the sooner you get it out, the better, right? Like, the bustedness of getting out sooner or later, because you really only need 2 energy. So you won't get it out on turn 1 unless you manage some crazy pay 1, untap your leader, turn 1. Like, unless you manage some type of crazy way of guaranteeing you can play this on turn 1, this is essentially a turn 2 play. But in order to go for game, you need 4 energy. So pretty much you'll want to do this effect. You have 3 energy, and then on turn 4, play your 4th energy and go for game. Unless you have a way to ramp energy, then that's a different story. But anyway, moving on. Really good card. Majinbukai Absorbed. It has 2 ways you can cheat it out. You can evolve it for 3 on top of a Kai. So any Kais that you have access to, you can play for cheap. I'll help you get this out soon, for 3 energy. Or you can do its active main / battle ability. Which you're gonna use the active battle part. Pay 2 green, play this card from your hand, and your opponent can't attack with battle cards for the turn. Now, granted, you could play this, active main, just pay 2 green and play this. And it's a 40k double strike, so as soon as turn 2, you can drop the bad boy. But you want to get the most out of this, so you'd rather play it when during active battle. So play it defensively and then attack the opponent on the clapback, right? It has the auto Spirit Boost 2. When this card is played from your hand, choose one of your opponent's unison cards and get control of it. So you can actually steal one of your opponent's steal your opponent's unison in the process of playing this, so you're getting 2 bodies on board that you can use against your opponent on the clapback. So obviously it's under 120, so really good card. Like I said, if you have green energy, you can get it out for 2 energy. But if you don't have green energy, you can get it out for 3 energy in any deck, as long as you have a Yugioh. So you can figure out how to get that synergy out there. This is splashable as a ultimate in multiple decks, not just green. Or play multicolor energy just to get the green, right? The choice is yours. This is definitely something I've been looking towards. Already have it in my cart, so definitely been checking the prices. Wanted to go down a little bit more before I grab the copy, but it's definitely a must-have. Ultimate, definitely a fan. I played it many times, and it definitely puts in work. So every time I played it, definitely puts in work. There was one time where it actually left the field. Oh man, it put in so much more work. Like, it left the field, but it absorbed so many attacks and so much from my opponent. Like, logic, my opponent should have just attacked me. Should have just directed all their attacks to me, and they would have won. But instead, they directed it all to Gohanks. And it's like, alright, cool. I was expecting to maybe stop 2 of your attacks with this card. I wasn't expecting to stop, was it? How many? Had 5 markers, so 5 markers. Plus the auto. So that was like 6-ish attacks. It was against like not cool. Yeah, it was the cooler. It was like the metal cooler deck where you bring the little metal coolers from the drop. It's like a red yellow build. Point is like this absorbs so many freaking attacks. That shit was hilarious. Like, I didn't expect to not take no damage that turn. But that's the whole point. It is a good card. So it's a 25k dual attack blocker, and that's 25k. Does make a difference. If it was a 20k, it would be less powerful. But it's 25k, so it's not too strong, but not too weak. That's what I like about it. 30k would have been amazing. Would have been busted, but okay. Beggars can't be choosers, right? So dual attack blocker, so you can attack with it and defend with and block with it. And that's what I did when I played it. Got the auto to board wipe, attack with it, applying pressure to my opponent, and then switch it back to active mode so I can use it to block. And maybe use its +1 auto to also stop an attack, by KOing something, or at least making something weaker, so I can have a potential of surviving. It's 2 attacks, so you get a sword and 2 shields out of it as a word. So that's always good. It's always good to have something you can attack and defend with, or you can have 2 swords and 1 shield, right? Because you can attack with it twice and then use this auto to protect yourself once. So it just depends how you use it. So it's very versatile. Definitely a good card to have. It requires a minimum specified for red. So obviously this is for red decks that can produce red energy. Auto, when this card is played, choose all of your opponent's battle cards ignoring bear, which is always important, right? And they get minus 25k power for the turn. So it doesn't just KO, right? 25k or less or anything like that. It minus 25k or less. So it has the ability to drastically weaken your opponent's board, or just flat out wipe the board out And a lot of times for me, this just wipes the board. If they have a whole bunch of 30Ks, obviously the 30Ks will survive, but they'll be drastically weakened by this effect. This I like using this with King Vegeta because I get King Vegeta and also what's his name, Cooler for Cooler Mill, really good. And for I was using this in my Cooler Mill deck, so that was an important detail. So I wiped my opponent's board, made him mill. I was able to defend, able to do the +1 auto, make them mill some more. So a lot of synergy with the leader. But it's just a good card, right? It has board wipe, has defensive capabilities, offensive capabilities, right? And then so I mentioned so it has a +1 auto. When your opponent attacks with a battle card, so it only works on battle cards, not lethal or unison. You may choose that battle card, and it gets minus 25k power for the turn. So could KO something, or just drastically weaken it. And this is a +1 ability, so you'll gain a marker, which comes in handy with the fact that this is a blocker. So you'll block with it, and if you block something strong, and you'll lose the marker after you gave it the marker. So there's that. Like, for example, you use the auto to deal with a battle card, and then, by gaining a marker, and then use the blocker part of the unison against a, like a leader swing or unison swing. Try to stop 2 attacks that way. And then it has the -4 ability, active main. This card gets 15k power, so it becomes 40k, and triple strike, so it's a 40k triple strike. And remember, it still has dual attacks, so it's a 40k triple strike. They can attack twice, still a blocker, right? Until the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode. At the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode, which is nice because, like I said, you can make it a 40k triple strike since there's a dual attack with it twice, so swing with it twice. And then at the end, and if your opponent's still alive after that, that's potentially 6 damage right there. If they're still alive, at the end of the turn, this will switch back to active mode, so you can block, plus still have the auto, so you have the potential to block twice. Or at least stop 2 attacks, or try to stop 2 attacks on the clapback, right? Because you have potential to do 6 damage. How did you not beat your opponent? So let's move that out of there. And then we get into some pricier cards, but again, it's not about cheap, it's about where is the best place to put your money. Oh wait, I forgot a card. Oops. I just realized I forgot a card. All the cards, I forgot. It's one obvious one. That's the 4th ultimate that I own. Is it? No, it's not called. I know it's Heroin still. Maybe it's... Yeah, there you go. It is Heroin Stage. Oh. Okay, so oh, that's weird. They have that little symbol in the wands, Anyway, irrelevant. Really don't know why. I guess they just don't want it to count as a Heroin's lineage card, I guess, so for some stupid reason. But anyway, as you can see, there's the card. So this is obviously a little bit cheaper than that. Woo! I feel sorry. You see something? This is pissing me off right now. I only spent $70 on my copy, and then after I bought it, it jumped up to 90. I guess I should have sold it once it jumped up, because then now I could have bought it for half the price. Because this is almost $45. Could have bought it for half the price, made a $45 profit. But oh well, I got shit to do. I got money, so it's not that deep. But it was just the idea. It's like, but the cards are worth it, right? Regardless of how much I spent on them. Beautiful cards, just cute artwork. It's good at least as a collector's card. Like something that just collects just for the purpose of collecting something cool. But also, it's a really good card. Generic. Can be used in many decks. I splashed it in a lot of decks. because it's one of the easiest to use ultimates that I actually own, as well as just in general. So a really good card. You use it, pay 1 energy. Right? It's an extra card. That's a very important special detail about this ultimate, is that it's not a creature, right? A battle card. It's a extra card. So it makes it really, really unique in that regards, because there could be ways we can recycle this. Like later on, there'll be ways that you can use a battle card or a leader card to add an extra card from the drop to your hand, and you can reuse this over and over again, right? That'd be busted. But that's the whole idea, right? There could be like a card that lets you send an extra card from your deck to the drop. So you send this on purpose and then add it back to your hand. So there's a way you could search it out, or maybe have something you play and it's like add an extra card, that costs 1 from your deck to your hand or something. Like bang, automatically go grab this. So you get the idea. So it has a lot of potential for future brokenness, as it were, right? So future effects to make this much better. And right now it's under $50, right? Under $45. So definitely should grab it while you can. It's definitely a good budget. That's it. It's generic. You can just splash in any deck and not even think about it twice. You can so it's active battle ability, which is what we're using it for, right? You're paying 1 energy to do this. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, so you can't do it on turn 1 or turn 2, right? You gotta wait until your opponent has 3 energy, right? Choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 7 or less and gain control. This is an active battle ability, so obviously you'll have to swing, right, to try to play this, or wait until they swing. So you can use this offensively and defensively, however way you want. Just nice, right? Makes it nice and versatile. Because being able to attack on purpose just to trigger this to take one of your opponent's cards is really useful, especially if the card is, like has double strike, triple strike, or something, right? Or it's a blocker or something similar to that, or just has a decent effect that just being able to take something battle card from your opponent is just powerful in any card game, and for us to even have it in this card game, and it be this cheap, energy wise, be this cheap cost wise, money wise, as well as relatively easy to use. You don't have to have a certain leader, blah blah blah. So it's very generic, very good. You can splash this in any deck, like I said. So this definitely should be at least one of the ultimates you should have. The Gohang's definitely another one I recommend. But then some of the other options, like the Cichron's pretty good. Yeah, he's still over here. Cichron, he's pretty good, obviously, because you can get him out relatively early, and he's a win con in himself. And then, you got the Smoke Dragon doing some good stuff. So it's up to you how you do, but definitely Heroin's lineage, definitely Gohanks. For those who can afford it, definitely Baby Hatchiac. But this, alright, so good card, moving on. So then we got Supreme Kai of Time, Space Time Unraveler. Beautiful artwork, of course. Fan favorite. Generic, can be played in any deck. Has an active main and active battle ability. It's active active battle ability if you have 3 or more energy. So the earliest you can play this is turn 3. Play this card from your hand, right, for 1 energy. And if you do, your opponent can't attack with leader cards or unison cards for the turn. So you want to use this defensively, so you can take advantage of that, right, the active battle part. And then on your turn, use this active main ability for 1 energy. Choose this card and all of your opponent's battle cards and unison cards and set them to the warp. So it has board wiping capabilities. It does not ignore a barrier, but not everything in the game has a barrier, right? But it's nice to have things that does ignore barrier just in case. As you can see, it's like a $294 card. Not cheap, but if you got the budget and you spend a lot less on your on everything else, because remember, this is a card you're not going to put just on one deck. You can put this on any deck, right? So this, this can be splashed in so many decks. So it's a good card. It's a black card, so I definitely could Using Hatchiac is an 8-drop, so playing this in Hatchiac is an 8-drop. It's good. So this definitely has potential. Again, like I said, many decks. It's a good card. Looks nice, so it's good to collect. Those who like to collect, definitely something to consider. So again, it has 4 wiping capabilities, a defensive capability, so it has, which is double, defense, right? You survive a turn, which is always good. It's always good to have something that gives you an extra turn, and then the ability to clear your opponent's board. Too good, too good. That could always get you 2 turns, right? And then you have, it's not enough to just have extra turns, right? You definitely want to be able to try to win, right? The goal is to win the game, not just have extra turns and then still lose, right? Nobody wants that. You always want to be able to go for game, right? So this ain't cheap, $310, but it is a win con, all in itself. So Zeno should be probably a lot cheaper. I'm not gonna go look at it. He's probably a lot. He's probably cost he sells Zeno. He costs way more. So Zeno's probably like a $600 card. Can't wait for the reprints, right, of all these ultimates, which will definitely be in the budget category, right? But anyway, this is definitely a really good card. It's 40k dual attack, so you get 2 chances to go for game. So obviously, this is meant to be a finisher. It first permanent. You can't play this card from any area using skills, so can't cheat it out. Gonna have to hard cast it, right? If you have 5 or more mono red energy, so be hard to use in multicolored decks, but if you have a mono red deck, which you should be using this in there anyway, right? You can reduce this card's cost by 3, so that way it costs 5 specified red energy. So it's a 5-drop in a mono red deck. Second permanent, this card can't be removed from your battle area by your opponent's skills, which is useful. Not to worry about like active battle skills. Getting rid of this card, warping it, KOing it, all that bad stuff, right? So it has some protection. And then third permanent, during battles in which this card attacked. So when you attack with this, you can't use cards from your hand in combo. So you can't combo from your hand. You can still combo from your board, from your battle area, but not from your hand. And then the opponent can't activate counter or blocker skills. So they can't negate this card with counter attacks, and they can't block with blockers, which is really good. So those are 2 things out of the 4 things you gotta worry about when it comes to attacking. So this is definitely a UA, an unstoppable attack, right? Because it already deals with 4 things you always have to worry about when you're trying to go for game or when you're attacking. Period. The fact that your opponent could KO the card during the attack, right? This has protection from that, so it's hard to KO this card. So it has right there. That's one thing that makes it. That's one problem it solves, right? It has protection. Your opponent out comboing it, right? This doesn't have the ability to prevent your opponent from out comboing it, but it is a 40k, so it'll cost a lot for your opponent to try to out combo. It's a dual attack, so it does make up for the fact that if they out combo the first attack, well, they're going to have to try to do it again the second time, and they might not be able to. So that's an important detail, especially if you're just trying to go in for one attack and trying to chomp up for game, then attacking twice. So the fact that it attacks twice does help with the out comboing aspect. Then we got the third problem, which is your opponent using a blocker. This prevents them from blocking. And of course, the fourth one, your opponent using a counter, right? A counter attack to negate the attack, right? This prevents them from playing a counter. So that right there, this card alone solves those problems, right? And then the last but not least, right? Ability, it's the active main. If your leader card is red and you remove this card from the game, so from your battle area to from out of the game, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So if you manage to get your opponent down to 1 just playing this and then removing from the game to do your opponent 1 damage is all you need to win. So it automatically has a win cover. So it's very bad for your opponent to let themselves get down to 1 life, because you could play this and just end the game right there and then. Worth it. It's worth spending a lot of money on this card if it can win you the game just by playing it. Play, move it from the game, bang, game. Game, set, match. The fact that it's a 40k that can attack twice, and your opponent can't counter, block, and can't KO it through skills, it drastically increases your chances of potentially doing 3 damage in a turn, or at least 2. And that's all you really need. If you get your opponent down to 2 life, you have 2 attacks to try to get them down to at least 1 life, and then finish them off with the active main. So dealing 2 damage wouldn't be that hard with this card. So definitely a fan of this card. Currently it's a little it's a little up there on price. I'd rather wait until it's like 150 or less before I grab a copy for myself. And then the mighty Hatchiac, which used to be a $500 card, it drastically dropped. Tempting to get this card, but I'll wait a little bit longer because I really would like there to be reprints of these cards. I'd rather get a reprint of this card a lot less than getting the original. Release is cheaper now than it used to be, so less than 300. You can get the mighty and beautiful baby Hatchiac. Definitely a fan. Anytime you have a blue leader, a mono blue leader to be specific, bang, baby Hatchiac. Auto include. Even though there are other ultimates I could use, I always default to this one. So this is definitely an evergreen ultimate. First effect is counter attack, so it negates an attack, which is always great to have. So counter attack, negate an attack if you have 3 or more energy. So the earliest you can play it is when you have 3 energy, turn 3, right? 3 or more energy, negate the attack, then play this card from your hand, right? And your opponent can't attack for the turn. So this buys you another turn. So you negate an attack, play this card, and you get another turn because your opponent can't attack. First permanent, if this card would be removed from your battery, removed from the game instead, of course. And it's second permanent, which is the important permanent, right? If your leader card is mono blue, you can choose 1 other card from your hand and discard it instead of paying the cost of this card in order to play it. So you can play it for free. Just discard a card, play this from your hand, and get another turn. And a 40k body. So you get a 40k body on board, get another turn to try to attack your opponent. Especially since this is free, right? You can tap out, swing, try to deal as much damage to your opponent as possible in that 1 turn. End your turn, your opponent tries to come at you on the clapback. You drop this, get another turn, try to go in for game the next turn. So you essentially get 2 battle phases out of this. 2 turns to try to go for game. So very powerful card.